Hi everyone, this is Alex from Life with Gadgets, and I'd like to do a series of videos covering the Ayaneo Air. In this first video, I'm going to talk about the issues that I had and how I was able to resolve them. And then in future videos, I'd like to cover the different emulators that I have for PlayStation 2, Wii U, PlayStation 3, etc. And more importantly, the settings that I have, which I believe to be the best settings for this device. And then I'd make more videos where I'd like to cover different PC games that I have been playing, and again, what settings I'm using to get the best performance from this device. And I'll be covering games that aren't typically covered by other channels. And I'm not going to focus on stuff like showing the FPS or the different performance. I want to show you how these games look and how they feel when you play them. And let me just start off by saying that this device is absolutely amazing. I have multiple handheld devices from the PS Vita, Nintendo DS, different retro gaming devices like the Ambinic devices, all the way up to the Steam Deck. And I can say hands down, this is the best device that I have. And it's mainly because of this amazing screen that it comes with, this OLED screen, and the colors just pop out. And you can see from the video, this is pretty much how it looks in real life, and it's just absolutely amazing. And because it's a little screen that looks so good, you can run games at lower resolutions and lower graphical qualities, and it still looks absolutely amazing, to the point where I'm not even using my Steam Deck anymore, because in comparison, this screen is so much better. So anyway, let's kick off this video with the basics. This device that I have here is the Ayaneo Air Pro, but it's the 5560U model. So it comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of hard disk, and the 5560U processor. So not the top of the range one. But even so, it still has amazing performance. It also comes with, at least my device, I have an SD card with another 512 gigabytes. So total space I have is 1 terabyte, and I've already used all of it. So I need to buy more memory. But let's start off with the issues that I've had with this device when I first started with it. I've had it now for about 2 weeks, and I think all the issues are now solved, but I'd like to cover how to do them. So the first issue I had was with the Windows installation. When you first boot up this device, you are presented with the Windows setup, and many people are reporting, and it happened to me as well, after you choose your Wi-Fi settings, it goes into a screen that says wait just a moment, and it stays like that forever. Basically, it's just, you see a loading bar and it says wait just a moment or something like that, and it just doesn't recover. If that happens to you, if you get to that screen and after about 5 minutes it's still in that screen, don't worry. All you have to do is reset the device. So you hold down the power button that's back here, hold it down for about 6 or 8 seconds, and the screen will go black. Wait a couple of seconds and then reboot it by holding down the button again for about 2 seconds. If you do that, the Windows setup process will continue from where it left off, and then it works absolutely fine. Now, I think this is because of the version of Windows that is installed by default in this device. It does come with a lot of issues, and basically the way to solve them is to do a clean install of Windows 11. I highly recommend that you reinstall Windows. Now, this can sound daunting to a lot of people, but there's actually a very, very simple way that you can do this. All you have to do is head over to the Microsoft website and go down to the download section and choose the Windows 11 download. Now, what I recommend is you download the ISO version, because if you download the ISO version, you can then literally reinstall Windows on top of the version that you currently have, and you won't lose any of the settings, drivers, or software that you have. But this is very, very, very beneficial, because if you don't do this, you'll also come up with issues where the original Windows installation that comes with the device gets stuck when it's doing an update. And basically, you're not going to be able to update all the security updates and different updates that comes with Windows 11. So I strongly recommend that you reinstall Windows. That should be the first thing that you do. And so head over to this website and then scroll down to the ISO disk image here and just click on download. So it's very important though, that when you do this, you keep the default settings that Windows shows you. So first of all, click on here, Windows 11, click on download, and then you'll be presented with another option which says select product language. Again, make sure you choose the default language that comes on your Windows. Mine was English International. I'm assuming all of them are the same. Click on English International, because if you choose a different language, then when you go to reinstall it, it's going to tell you that it's a new installation of Windows and it will delete all of your drivers and your settings. So make sure you choose the language that you have. So in my case, it's English International. Click confirm, and then you will be able to download the actual file, which is an ISO file. Once you've downloaded it, all you have to do is double click on the file and select the setup option. This will then kick off the setup process for Windows 11, and then all you have to do is go through the actual process, click on the different options that it gives you, and it will tell you at some point that it is going to reinstall Windows, but it will keep all of your programs, software, drivers, and settings. Okay, I again strongly recommend you do this, because if you do this, it's going to solve a lot of the issues you will find further down the line. And you don't have to worry about a license or anything like that, because the Windows 11 license is already in the device by default. So it won't be asking you for a license number or anything like that. Again, strongly recommend you do this. The whole process will take about half an hour, because when you start the setup process, Windows will then download all the updates as well. That takes a little while depending on your Wi-Fi. But once you've done that, you'll have a nice clean version of Windows without the issues a lot of people are reporting. Whilst I'm here, I also strongly recommend you get yourself a dock. This is one that was designed for the Steam Deck actually, but it comes in very handy. It fits nicely. I'll leave the description and the link in the description for you where you can buy it from Amazon. It costs about $40, but it's really useful. And then obviously I also recommend you get yourself a wireless mouse, and I strongly recommend the keyboard that comes with the Ayaneo Air, although you have to buy this separately from Aya. Really useful for when you're setting up your device. The next issue that I want to cover is IOspace. IOspace is the software that comes pre-installed on the Ayaneo, and it basically allows you to change the TDP, the resolution, sound, brightness, all that stuff. It's pretty useful, but at the same time, it's a little bit buggy as well. One of the issues that I found that, again, a lot of people are reporting is that IOspace seems to have a conflict with Windows 11 and the taskbar here at the bottom. The issue it has is that sometimes the taskbar would disappear. And the way to resolve it would be to go into your task manager and restart Windows Explorer. And this would bring up the taskbar again. One of the things I do, and I strongly recommend as well, is that in this custom button down here, you map the taskbar. Okay, you'll probably use this a few times if a game crashes or whatever. So it's very useful to just have that, quick access to the taskbar, so you can basically restart a software or whatever. And so, as I was saying, this piece of software causes a lot of issues. I mean, it has a lot of potential, but clearly it's not 100% there yet. And one of the main issues is that the taskbar will conflict with it, and it will cause IOspace to not run correctly, or it will cause the taskbar to disappear. So the solution for this is not to run IOspace in full screen. This is why I have it here in a window and not full screen like it is by default. If you run IOspace in a window, it won't cause any conflict issues with Windows 11 and the taskbar. Now, how do you run with IOspace in a window? This is not something that's clearly shown anywhere. In fact, I did a lot of searching on the internet, and there were no videos showing you how this software really works. But it's very simple. You have to click on the icon, the Ayaneo icon here on the left. And by doing that, it takes you here to this screen. And in this screen, you will see there are different buttons, basically. So from here, this is where you can change the Ayaneo space resolution, essentially. And to do that, all you have to do is go into System Update. It's not very intuitive. And then once there, you'll see all these options, and you can see there, let me zoom in for you, that there is an option for full screen, and I have it as off. So click on that, and that will make IOspace go into this Windows as opposed to full screen. And that will solve a lot of issues. Believe me, there's a lot of problems with IOspace and conflicting with Windows 11. But if you do that, it will solve all of those issues for you. And there's no need to run it in full space. It's actually much better to do it at this size, especially if you're running this device at 1080p, which is what I have. Because if you run it in full screen, sometimes you won't be able to see all of the options because of the scaling, again, from Windows. Another thing that is not clear anywhere that I saw on the internet is how to change these RGB lights. And to do that, you need to go into this section down here, which is the Evo Configure Ayaneo. Click on that, and that brings you to the screen here. Let me zoom in again for you. And basically from here, you click on this here, RGB lighting. And that will basically give you the option to change, as you can see here, the different patterns, if you like, breathing patterns and colors for your RGB lights. Now, there's something I found that if you go into the breathe one here, it doesn't really seem to work all that well. Basically, what I noticed is in this particular option, the RGB lights will breathe, but the sequence only happens once or twice. After that, the lights go off and they don't work. Every other option does seem to work, but that one in particular seems a bit buggy and doesn't work very well. Also, just so you know, once you make a change, if you want to apply it, you have to click on this button down here. You leave it pressed for like a second or two, and that saves the settings that you've chosen. I just have it on default because for me, this is the best look and feel that I found for this device. But again, so a couple of tips there for you. I strongly recommend that you do them, and it will make everything a lot better. In particular, this custom button here. The next issue that I wanted to cover was my mouse and external keyboard. I was having an issue where sometimes my mouse pointer would disappear. So I would still move my mouse, whether it was with the joypad or with the external mouse that I have, and I wouldn't see the actual mouse pointer. However, I would see icons being highlighted, and the touchscreen did work. I then found that my keyboard wasn't working either, so I would be typing away and nothing would appear on the screen. I also noticed that these buttons wouldn't work either. So doing a bit more research, going into the device settings, I found that the keyboard and mouse had an issue. And no matter how many times I tried to update or reinstall the drivers for it, it wouldn't work. And basically what I found eventually was that it was an issue with my antivirus software, Avast. Basically what I found was that Avast was considering the keyboard, buttons and mouse drivers to be a virus for some reason, and it was blocking the system from using them. Now, I did more research and I found that this seems to be an issue that happens to some people with Windows 11 and Avast specifically. So I don't think it's an Ayaneo issue, but more of a Windows 11 and Avast. And even if I put those drivers out of quarantine, it still wouldn't work. So basically, the option that I found was don't use Avast antivirus software. It was causing a lot of issues, and ultimately uninstalling Avast solved these issues. And this also leads me to another point, which is Windows restore points. I've had to reinstall Windows on this device in the last 2 weeks, well, at least the first few days, multiple times because of issues that I found. And these issues were to do with, as I said, IOspace or Avast. But what I found was that they were actually, it's very easy to do a Windows restoration. It works really, really well. And you should make sure that you make restoration points every now and then so you can always revert back to them. Or ultimately, you can just reinstall Windows on top, like I showed you before. And this will also solve a lot of the issues. But ultimately, for me, if you put IOspace as a window and not on full size, and you reinstall Windows at the very beginning, that will solve all of the issues that you're most likely to encounter, and you shouldn't have any of those problems. Again, don't use Avast antivirus, because that seems to cause a lot of issues with Windows 11. So two more things I'd like to cover before we finish with this video. One of them is the speakers and sound. Again, I found a lot of people were complaining about the speakers on this device and how some of them seem to be out of phase. That hasn't been the case for me at all. Considering the size of this device, I think the sound is absolutely amazing, actually. I have no complaints whatsoever. Now, obviously, I know recording sound on and then showing it on YouTube isn't the best of examples, but let me just put on a song here so that you can hear the performance of these speakers. And again, as I said, for me, it's absolutely fine considering the size of this device. This is now on full volume, I believe. Yep. And that as well. Let me move it to a bit more action. There you go. So as you can see, it sounds absolutely fine. There are no issues whatsoever. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to cover was the heat of the device. Again, I've seen many early reviews where people would complain about how hot this device could get. But again, this for me hasn't been an issue at all. Yes, the back does get hot, but it's not unbearably hot. It's not going to burn your fingers or your hands or anything like that. And besides, the way you hold the device, if I take this out from here, the way you hold the device, so these grips back here, this doesn't cause any issues and you won't feel the heat at all. Seriously, I've had no issues, no complaints, and I've been using this for a very long time, plugged in and unplugged, and I have had no issues with the heat at all. Really, no issues. Also the fan, I've had no problems with the fan. I mean, I got to say the Steam Deck is probably just as quiet or perhaps a little bit quieter. But again, there's been no issues with me with the fan. I know it's not running at full speed right now. It's not doing anything heavy, but this is what the fan sounds like when it's just sitting here in Windows, not doing anything. It only gets a little bit louder than this, not by much more. So again, that's not an issue. You can play this device at night, whether you're alone or sleeping with somebody, and it won't be disturbing them at all. And then, one more thing, the fingerprint reader. This, again, for me, hasn't been an issue at all. It's super fast. It always works. So I'll do a very quick demonstration of that. I'm going to lock the device using Windows L. You can see here it's locked, and I'm just going to touch the fingerprint reader very lightly. There you go. Bam, it worked. Let me do that again. Bam. So you can see, very quick, very simple. It works every single time. I'm just tapping it. So I don't understand why people have had issues with that, because for me, it just works straight away, as you can see. Also, for those of you who are interested, as you can see, my background is animated and it changes every time I restart Windows, or it actually changes every hour. If you're interested in knowing how that's done, how it works, let me know and I'll make a video about it as well. But it's basically an app that I got from the Steam store, which allows you to download different dynamic wallpapers and you can set up a sequence for them. It's called Wallpaper Engine. Really cool, really recommend it. And again, it makes this device just shine that little bit more, especially with this amazing screen. And that's basically it. Those are the main issues that I found setting up the device. After those issues were fixed, I haven't found any more issues, to be honest. Extremely happy with the device, the ergonomics, the way it feels, the quality, and the screen is just absolutely amazing. And as I said, in future videos, I will be covering different emulators that I have and the settings that I found that seem to work for them. I'll also be covering gameplay using PlayStation Plus which is streaming gameplay for from PlayStation games. Again, the quality and the performance is absolutely amazing, even if you use really low TDP. And then I'll also be covering different PC games that I have, most of which I haven't found any reviews online about, and I'll be going through the different settings that I use for them and how I find the general performance. And I'll also be covering how you can also play games on this device by using an external hard drive. It works really, really well, and also the performance from the SD card is also exceptional. I've had no issues whatsoever. Obviously, assuming you get a good SD card for it. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap it up here for this first video. As I said, subscribe and just give me some time, and I'll be uploading all those other videos. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment area. And as I said, please like and subscribe, and I'll be back soon. Thanks, guys.